We continue. We are rounding up the labor market, government intervention. So today we want to talk about measures to reduce geographical and occupational immobility of labor. So where there is geographical and occupational immobility of labor, it simply means that there's labor market immobility, because the labor market comprises the geographical location and occupational immobility. So there is occupational immobility and geographical mobility in the labor market. So as soon as these two occurs, it simply means there's labor market inflexibility. There's no flexibility in the labor market. So what is labor market immobility? Labor market immobility occurs when workers are not flexible enough to move from one job to another according to the needs of the market. That is labor market immobility. Then, for measures to reduce labor immobility, it addresses the barriers that prevent workers to be able to move or workers to be able to switch job. That is what we mean by measures to reduce labor immobility. So yeah, measures to reduce labor immobility addresses barriers that prevent workers from moving between jobs, whether in a different location, which is geographical, or a different field, which is occupational immobility. So both occupational immobility and geographical immobility are labor market immobility, which has to be addressed. And to address them, we need to put up measures in place to eliminate this immobility or this labor market immobility. So I wrote, government and private organizations can use a combination of incentives, training, and policy reforms to increase mobility. So there's immobility, and for mobility to be eliminated, it means we are thinking about increasing mobility. I think the point is clear. So what does labor market immobility brings? Labor market immobility brings one. Labor market immobility allows workers to be unemployed when employers are reporting a shortage of workers. There's vacancy, but because there's a presence of labor market immobility, so it means unemployed workers will still not get a job, despite the fact that employers are clamoring, or employers are making it known that there's vacancy, but they still won't be able to get the job, probably because there's lack of mobility, maybe occupational mobility or geographical mobility. So it simply means, oh, there's job in Miswata, but I'm unemployed, but I can't go to Miswata because of family ties. So that is geographical immobility. Oh, there's job even in Tripoli as a banker, but I'm unemployed, but I cannot be a banker because I'm a teacher. So there is occupational immobility. So either way, there's labor market immobility. So one of the things that happens when there's labor market immobility is that people that are supposed to be employed, that are unemployed, will still not get a job, despite the fact that there's employment. You get employment opportunity. Two, they might be in temporary employment or self-employment when they would prefer to be in full-time employment with employer. Because there's either geographical mobility or occupational mobility. So they will be in temporary job, but they will prefer to have a full-time job. But for the fact that there is labor market immobility, they find themselves in temporary employment. Do you get the second one here? And the third one, in a job which fails to use their skills and talents. So some people will be in a job that they won't be able to use their skills, their talents. Just imagine me, I studied finance in the university and I have MBA administration. Then you put me in the chemist, maybe in the pharmacy. What do I do there? There's nothing that I can do there. Or you put me in a chemist shop. What do I do there? Do you understand? So because I don't have that skills that is needed at that point in time, it means whatever I do there, I'm not going to be able to use my skills. So these are what labor market immobility will bring about. So how do we solve labor market immobility? To solve labor market immobility, we have to start thinking about geographical immobility, measures to solve geographical immobility, and measures to solve occupational immobility. Any question about that? So that first, this is what labor market immobility is all about. So we'll go on to geographical measures to solve geographical immobility. So we go to measures for geographical immobility. What is geographical immobility? Geographical immobility occurs where workers are unable to move from one location to another for employment. That is geographical immobility of labor. So what are the ways in which government can solve geographical immobility of labor? The first one is housing subsidies and reforms. Government may offer financial assistance for relocation, including subsidies for moving expenses and mortgages or rental assistance. Reforms Reforms to the housing market, such as relaxing building laws and increasing the supply of affordable housing, can also make new locations more accessible. So the first way to reduce or to eliminate geographical immobility of labor is subsidy, because most of the time people do not want to move because of the cost of housing or the cost of renting. So government can solve this problem by making available low-cost housing or giving subsidies for relocation, paying for employees relocating expenses. Do you understand? So if this happens, that becomes an incentive for employees or potential employees to be able to move from one location to another. Do you understand the first point here? The second one, improved transportation. When we talk about improved transportation, we're simply talking about government providing public transportation or infrastructure like speed railways, speed rails, speed trains that would allow people to have more access to different locations. So it simply means it doesn't matter, I don't have to reside in Misrata or any other place because I'm working presently here, or because I reside here and I want to work over there. So with public transportation that commutes us, or with speed train that allows us to get there earlier, that means I can still be here and walk over there. So if the distance is being covered within a short period of time, then geographical mobility of labor can be solved. Do you understand the second point here?
Yeah.
So improvement in infrastructure can bring about geographical mobility. That means it can solve geographical immobility. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
The third one is incentives for businesses. I wrote, government should encourage firms to relocate or to establish branches in areas with high unemployment. This can be through tax breaks, grants, or investment incentives. Another way to solve geographical immobility is to give incentives to businesses to set up in areas that they have or they are witnessing high unemployment rate. So instead of workers to start moving and they are unable to move, just set up there. So government could provide incentive for businesses or firms to set up in those locations, so it becomes easier for those that are there to get a job. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that solves it's not necessary we have to move because of geographical immobility. Geographical immobility can also be solved if you bring the business to us. Do you understand the point there? The next one, relocating public services. Central government can move some public agencies or jobs out of expensive high employment areas to stimulate demand in other regions. So government can also set up or move public services or public departments or government departments to areas that they are in need. Do you understand? That can also reduce or solve geographical immobility. And the next one, enhanced job market information. So some people do not move because they lack information. So government may provide a coordinated nationwide database of job vacancies to ensure workers are aware of all available opportunities regardless of location. So government can also provide database that allows unemployed workers to know more about all vacancies irrespective of the location. So they are not, they have access to all information about vacancy in different locations, not just in their own location. So sometimes people do not move because they don't even have information about what is happening outside their location. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Any question about that?
No.
And the last one is remote work. I talk about remote work. I'm talking about promoting remote and hybrid work models, which allows employees to access job in different geographical locations, even if they don't locate there. So when there's remote work, it simply means I could be here and work in Canada and have a job in Canada. So it's not necessary I go there. It's not necessary I relocate to get a job there. So if there are remote work, then people can also work without even moving to the specific location. So these are measures that could help to solve geographical immobility of labor. Any question about it?
No.
Good. So we go to measures for occupational immobility now. So we go to measures for occupational immobility. When we talk about occupational immobility of labor, it simply means the inability of workers to be able to switch or transit from one job to another. So probably they lack the skills, they lack the education or training to transit from one job to another. That is what occupational immobility is. So what are the measures that government can use to solve occupational immobility? Number one, government-funded training and retraining programs. So that means government can, subsidize, government can, fund vocational or training and retraining programs that allows, people, the unemployed people, to have access to training, and that could, help them to, to up their skills, and that makes them to become employable. So do you understand the point I'm making here? So government can come up with programs, they fund programs that allows unemployed people to have access to training and education to prepare them for the growing industries. That is what government-funded training and training program is about. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Two, subsidies for private training. Government may offer incentives and subsidies to private firms to encourage them to fund the training of their employees. So government can also provide subsidies, which become an incentive for private firms to train their workers. So, training is expensive. So most of the firms do not want to train their workers because of how expensive it is. So government can subsidize for firms. That reduces their cost on training, and that might encourage them to train their employees, and that makes them, more flexible. Do you understand the second point there?
Yeah.
The third one, increased access to higher education. Talking about university education here. Improve access to university and other forms of higher education by expanding student loan programs or limiting tuition fees. So government can come up with policies or reforms that reduce the amount of tuition university students have to pay, or improve access to university. This makes the cost of higher education to reduce, and that means people will become graduates and they will be able to have jobs. Do you understand the second point here? The third one, career counseling and job matching. Provide effective career counseling to help workers assess their skills and offer job placement services to match them with suitable opportunities. When you counsel, when you are able to, let people be informed about their career path, let them know information about what they do, let them have access to different skills that would allow them to measure the kind of job opportunity available. Some people are scared. They can't even, they can't even assess themselves. Like, oh, am I a fit? Am I a good fit for this job? So government should counsel, government should, encourage them. Let them know that, oh, you can do this, you can do that. That might also give them that confidence to even apply for jobs. Some people would not want to move, or do not want to take they don't want to take a promoting job because they are scared of, they don't have that confidence to allow them to take up that position. So that reduces occupational mobility. So when they have assessment, when they can assess themselves, when they can measure what they can do, that might, give them the courage and confidence to take up jobs that they think it's high in the, or it's highly, highly demanding in terms of responsibility. I think the point is clear.
Yeah.
Then the next one is reform occupational licensing. Reforms are done to soften laws that brings about barriers or that brings about hindrance for access. So I wrote, review and reduce unnecessary occupational licensing restrictions that can act as a barrier to entering a new field. So, you might want to become a doctor, and becoming a doctor, you need a lot of, license or, paperwork to get that done. That means it becomes, you get discouraged as a result of that. So government could come up with reforms that makes the barriers to soften those barriers or those hindrances that makes it difficult for people to access other jobs opportunity or jobs.
Yeah.
So that can also reduce occupational immobility of labor. Any question about that?
No.
So these are the measures for occupational immobility of labor. Then we'll go to measures to discrimination and exploitation. So go to measures. That's the last note anyway. Measures to reduce discrimination and exploitation. When we talk about discrimination in the labor market occurs when there's information failure that encourage the employers to appreciate certain group and to deliberately uh, undervalue other group of people within the same office environment or workplace. That's what discrimination is about. That means you appreciate some people, some group of people based on information failure, and you undervalue the rest. That is discrimination. You get discrimination here. So I go discrimination in the labor market by employers occurs when there is an information failure to appreciate one group in society or in the office and deliberately undervalue another group. So government should take the following measures to reduce discrimination and exploitation. And for exploitation, it simply means mostly exploitation comes when you make workers to become vulnerable. You underpay them because there's nothing they could do about it. So you are exploiting them. So what are the measures that government could take to ensure that there is no discrimination and exploitation of workers in the labor market? One, strengthening legal protection. Government should ensure all workers, including independent contractors and temporary workers, are covered by anti-discrimination laws. So irrespective of who you are, in as much as you are a worker, you should be protected by anti-discrimination laws. So that means you cannot be discriminated. Do you understand the first one?
Yeah.
Two, regulate recruitment agencies. Government should oversee and regulate recruitment agencies and labor intermediaries to prevent exploitative practices. So government should also monitor how recruitment agencies deal with their workers, or their potential employees, to ensure that they are not being exploited. Do you get the second point there?
Yeah.
The third one, enforce labor standards. When there are standards, it means there's consistency in practice. There's consistency in your system. That is what standards is about. So government should mandate and enforce minimum standards for safe working and living conditions, including appropriate accommodations. Because government should also maintain that, should ensure that the workplace is conducive for workers. And that can be done if government enforces those labor standards. The next one, to protect migrant workers' rights. Because sometimes migrants are exploited or discriminated. So government should provide information on migrant opportunities, ensure written employment contracts and legal protection, and ensure they have access to social protection and healthcare. So migrants should also be protected so that they won't be exploited by their employers because they are vulnerable. And the last one, abolish restrictive systems. Systems that brings about giving excess power to employers over their employees. So if these practices are abolished, then that means employees will have a breath of air. They will be they won't be exploited and they will be willing to work. So these are ways in which government can ensure that there is no exploitation and discrimination at workplace. Any question?
Yeah.
So that ends chapter 20, right?
Yeah.
Good.